Thanks for joining us today. Hello and welcome to Business Daily. I'm Lee Ji-yoon in Seoul. We have a lot lined up for you today, so let's first get started by taking a look at today's highlights. Global commodity prices hit the lowest since 2002 due to dull growth in the world economy, which has led to feeble demand. Korea, along with other countries around the world, is ready to tackle multinational companies that have been dodging taxes by rolling out the so-called the Google tax. We sit down with an expert to talk about this. But first, Korea's consumer sentiment improved for a fifth straight month in November. The Bank of Korea's Composite Consumer Sentiment Index ticked up to 106 this month, up 1 point from October. A reading above 100 indicates that optimists outnumber pessimists. Now, after dipping below the benchmark in June when the MERS outbreak was at its peak, the figure has since been on an upward trend. The central bank says the rise comes on the back of government initiatives aimed at boosting spending, such as Korea's Black Friday sales event held last month. The data also show that Koreans have a more positive outlook on income and spending and a gloomier view regarding the future of the domestic economy. Global commodity prices have hit a 13-year low due to the sputtering global economy. And this in turn has led to a supply glut for commodity producers and bankruptcy at many raw materials companies. Even worse, the downward trend is likely to continue for a while. Our Kwon So-ah has this report.
The Commodity Research Bureau Index, which measures the general direction of commodity prices, dove down to 183.4 earlier this week. That's the lowest since November 2002 and a decline of 61% from July 2008, right before the global financial crisis. The formula includes prices of copper, steel, and crude oil. The U.S. benchmark West Texas Intermediate dipped to $41.75 a barrel on Monday, even getting down to the $40 range last week. Weak demand due to slowing growth in the global economy, especially in the world's second-largest economy, China, and the ongoing uncertainty about a potential U.S. rate hike are cited as the main reasons for the price drop. That in turn has led to an oversupply at many raw materials companies, which are struggling to pay off their debt. According to data from Standard & Poor's, 99 global companies have defaulted so far this year, a record high since the global financial crisis in 2009. 40 of those were in the raw materials industry. The number of commodity firms hit by a credit rating downgrade by S&P this year was 155 compared to the 99 companies in 2009. The situation isn't looking much better in Korea, as recent local data show more than 30% of downgraded companies were commodities firms.
Normally, the drop in commodity prices would have a positive effect on Korea, as it's a big importer of raw materials. But countries that produce raw materials are struggling, and that's hurt Korea's exports, which means the price decline has limited effects on Korea.
The expert added if the U.S. does raise interest rates in December, as widely expected, it will strengthen the greenback, thus prolonging the global drop in commodity prices. Kwon So-ah, Business Daily.
Following a month-long investigation, Korea's Environment Ministry has confirmed that Volkswagen diesel vehicles sold right here in Korea, in fact, had emissions cheating software installed in them. In a briefing broadcast live on Thursday, the ministry explained its probe had found the Tiguan model with the EA189 engine expelled more pollutants when observed outside of normal test conditions. It ordered a recall on 15 different models or 125,000 vehicles with the engine. It also slapped a $12.3 million fine on the German carmaker and ordered a detailed recall plan by January 6th. Testing will continue on newer models of imported VW diesels, and the probe will be expanded to 16 other brands that produce diesel cars, including Korea's Hyundai and Kia. Korea used to boast talented human resources with the so-called hungry spirit, and they were one of the key drivers of the country's rapid growth in recent decades. But now that spirit might be losing steam as Asia's fourth largest economy continues to suffer from a serious talent outflow. Our Sonjang-in has more.
Korea may be at risk of losing its global competitiveness because of a sharp drop in the domestic workforce. That's according to the annual World Talent Report by the Swiss-based Institute for Management Development. Korea moved up 9 notches from last year to place 31st among the 61 countries on the list for its ability to develop, attract, and retain talent. Switzerland remained at the top of the list, with Denmark, Luxembourg, Norway, and the Netherlands making the top 5. The study assesses 3 aggregate factors: investment and development, appeal, and readiness, derived from various indicators including education, employee training, brain drain, worker motivation, and quality of life. Korea scored a 3.98 out of 10 on the brain drain index, putting it at 44th. The lower the score, the more likely it is that highly educated people with engineering and science degrees will leave their homeland. But the most serious problem may be workers' lack of motivation. Korea placed 54th in that category, ranking near the bottom of the list with Slovenia and Argentina. So what's the reason for the brain drain? Experts cite Korea's poor corporate and research environment as the main factors. According to a survey by the Korea International Trade Association last year, over 90% of highly educated people want to work overseas, with their main reasons being acquisition of advanced knowledge and higher salaries. They also cited Korea's long work hours and job instability as reasons for wanting to leave the country. On a positive note, Korea scored relatively high marks on the World Talent Report in such areas as skilled labor, public spending on education, and health-related infrastructure. The rankings are based on competitiveness-related data, including an in-depth survey of more than 4,000 executives in the 61 countries covered by the study. 손정인, Business Daily.
The next time you pop into a flower shop to buy some beautiful flowers, why not reach for a cactus instead? Korea's state-run agency has been working with farmers for decades now to produce grafted succulents that have eye-catching colors and a lot of character as well. Our Lee Ju-young tells us more.
At first glance, it may look like beautiful beds of flowers are being watered, but look closer and you'll be in for a surprise. Coming in a variety of colors like pink, orange, yellow, and red, these grafted cacti are actually 2 different varieties that are implanted together by hand to be grown as houseplants. Korea's state-run Rural Development Administration says it has worked on the development and market expansion of over 100 species of cacti for the past 30 years since 1980.
The newly bred species this time around has vivid colors and is proliferous, so we're expecting active exports to the US and Europe.
While Korea exported $500,000 worth of these ornamental succulents in 1980, that figure grew to over $4.5 million last year. With that, the country now claims roughly 80% of the global market share.
I'm very positive about future exports. Foreign traders keep placing orders, so I think the area of cultivation will expand as well.
The agricultural agency said it will continue to develop more decorative cacti to meet the demands from over 30 markets, including the US and the Netherlands, and work to spur more exports down the line. Lee Ju-young, Business Daily.
The group of 20 leaders agreed this month in Turkey to take action against multinational corporations that use loopholes to avoid taxes by endorsing the so-called Google tax. And Korea has joined 94 countries that have decided to enact this regulation. Take a look.
Google is estimated to have earned $1.3 billion in sales from Korea last year. But the company has avoided taxes by housing its servers in tax-friendly countries like Ireland. Google's not the only one. In 2013, more than 4,750 out of over 9,500 foreign companies in Korea didn't pay any corporate taxes. So Korea is now looking to implement the so-called Google tax next year, following an agreement among G20 leaders to tackle tax avoidance by multinational companies. The country's finance ministry announced this month that this Google tax will require global firms operating in Korea, such as Google and Apple, to submit annual reports. In these reports, the companies must list all business activities in Korea and also include a list of local subsidiaries, local income, and tax records. With all these efforts to fight against tax avoidance, will Seoul and other governments around the world be able to produce the results desired?
And to tell us more about this, Professor Kim Se-won from Ewha Women's University joins us in the studio today. So good to see you, Professor.
Good afternoon.
All right, so the group of 20 nations agreed to take stern actions against multinational companies that dodge taxes. Now, how are they able to do this? And what's the scale of damage that stems from all this?
Yes, it is very hard to estimate the size of the tax avoidance by these companies. But recently, OECD reports that the global size of the tax avoidance by these companies amounts between $100 billion and $240 billion.
Wow.
And there are hundreds of ways for these companies to avoid taxes. But the most representative way for doing it is collecting all the profits in a tax haven country. So let me make an example with Google Korea, because it is named after Google. But they make about 3 trillion Korean won revenue every year, but they pay zero tax in Korea because
zero tax.
Right,
Wow.
because they pay huge amount of money to their foreign subsidiaries companies, which is located in Ireland, for using servers and royalties.
All right, then we talked about the Google tax, but what is this measure and how is it expected to prevent multinational companies from dodging taxes?
Well, the philosophy of Google tax is very simple. Every single company should be paying the local corporate tax to the countries where the business is located. And multinational companies and high-tech companies are not exception. So for that purpose, Google tax is designed to stop the avoiding taxes by levying taxes on international payments between subsidiary companies.
And of course, Korea is speeding up the process to implement this Google tax next year. Can you tell us more about this?
Yes, actually, Korean government has been pretty proactive on enacting Google tax. Only this year, for example, they imposed the 10% value-added tax to Google for sales of the applications on the website. And in addition, if everything goes well, the process of the enacting will be finalized by August next year. So that means Korea will be the nation to do so second nation to do so after United Kingdom.
Okay, then do you think this will be effective in helping Korea to secure tax revenues?
Yeah, of course. That, of course, increases local corporate tax. But it is also important to increase the total size of the tax revenues to support these high-tech companies because they provide employment and their employees pays income tax.
All right, then is there a reason why Korea is so much more prone to, I guess, multinational companies that are dodging taxes compared to other countries?
Well, Korean has been a long history with that kind of multinational companies and high-tech companies. The public opinion of the Korean people was that these big companies is making big profit and they just take away from Korea. So the public opinion is something bad impression to these companies.
Now we want to know that I'm sure this Google tax, the news of Google tax has domestic and foreign multinational companies on their toes here in Korea. How will it affect them and in what ways?
Well, in the end, both of the Korean-based multinational companies and foreign-based multinational companies will be paying more taxes when Google tax is enforced. So, however, it is important to balance between foreign-based multinational companies and Korean-based multinational companies.
Okay, but then some are saying that in order for us to feel the real effects of the Google tax, it's going to take a lot longer than expected. Why are some people saying that?
Well, that is a very important issue. Without that international cooperations, the Google tax cannot be enacted and enforced between countries. And in addition to that, different countries has different attitudes on Google tax and multinational companies and high-tech companies. So it will take more time than expected to agree on the details of the Google tax.
So in your opinion, what tasks remain in order for the Google tax to settle and take root successfully and, I guess, produce positive results around the world?
Well, for the case of the Korean tax office, if Google Korea is not reporting exactly their payment to their mother company, Google United States, it is very hard to figure out the exact amount without the help of the US government. So well-established cooperation between tax offices, between government is the crucial part of the enforcing Google tax.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight today, Professor.
Thank you very much.
And that does it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.